There's an old saying that goes, first impressions last. Now this is true whether it's on the first date, meeting your partner's parents for the first time, going for a job interview, or even auditioning for a band. Same is true as well in the entertainment industry, because whatever you do or put out there for the first time will go a hell of a lot towards how far that your chosen career is going to last. Hello, welcome back to the Adrian Bar Project. I'm Adrian with a face for radio, and on today's episode I'm going to be doing a plain talking review of AIIZ's debut album, The Witch of Berkeley, and we're also going to have a quick look at their 12-inch single, No Fun After Midnight. So, cue the music. Having your debut album as a live album isn't nothing new, but it comes at a risk. Would this risk pay off for AIIZ in 1980 with their release The Witch of Berkeley? Well, let's have a look. And we'll start off with the album in fine style with their song No Fun After Midnight. Right, so we'll kick the album off with a song, No Fun After Midnight. And those of you who are aware of AIIZ, heard of them before, I think this will be the song that you're going to associate with them. It's a mid-tempo rocker, great opening song, and straight away we get to see what an awesome guitarist Gary Owens is. Fantastic vocalist as well, with his brother Dave Owens, and all around the band seem to be on top form for this opener. The next song is called Lay Down. Your typical heavy metal fare about relationship woes with this one. This is yet another mid-tempo new wave of British heavy metal song. You can't really label it as anything else. Absolutely fantastic. It's great guitar work again, great songwriting, and you can see why AIIZ were thought as highly as they were with these two songs. Okay, so they're the two openers. Next one up, track 3, we're going to be Walking the Distance. So, track 3, Walk in the Distance, and here we see A to Z aren't scared to try something a little different. You've got to remember that this came out in 1980. The new wave of British heavy metal scene was awash with just single tempo songs. There were other bands doing the old, slow intro, up tempo song, but what they tend to do is you get the slow intro, you go into the up tempo part of the song, and that's where it stays. A to Z, take my hat off to them. They did the slow intro, then you got the up tempo verse, and then they went back into the slower tempo and chopped and changed it like that. Absolutely fantastic songwriting technique, and I think it's one of the stronger songs on the album for it. Great guitar work as always, great vocals from Dave Owens too, and one of the standout tracks, I think. Track number 4 is Gladstonbury Massacre. This is an instrumental. It just goes out to show you what great guitarist Gary Owens was, and he was only going to get better in his career. So just taking what he was now on this album, he's just going to go way and above that in future years. Is this a throwaway track? No, I wouldn't say so. I think it'd be unfair to call it a throwaway track. I think he just wants to showcase that I've sat, put the hours in, learning my instrument, and I want to showcase my talents, and it's fair enough. Absolutely no problem with that at all. The only thing that does let this song down is the fact that there's no rhythm guitarist. So as soon as you come out of the main riff and you start soloing, then the sound as a whole just falls away. It cannot be helped. You can't get away from it unless you've got the same bass sound as Lemmy. It sounds like you've got about 17 guitarists on anyway. You're always going to be missing, that little hole there in the sound. That's not taking anything away from the bass player on here. You do your best what you can do, and I say not having a rhythm guitarist there to fill the sound out of it does let this track down a little, but it's still entertaining enough as it is. Right, so the last track on side A of the vinyl, which is track 5 on the CD, is Danger UXB. So track 5, Danger UXB. Now this title, I think, was obviously ripped off the 1970s television programme of the same name. I think it was about an army bomb disposal team. Those of you that can remember that far back, I think it used to be on ITV at the time, but Danger UXB. This is up-tempo heavy metal song, probably the most headbangiest song on the album. Great riff on this. Absolutely love the riff on this. Song-wise, lyrical-wise, it's about anger of youth, I think it is. That's what you could say. You take from this. People try to put me down because I'm slow and I'm the UXB about to blow. So you can read that into that what you like, but it's an awesome awesome song. I think could be my favourite song on the whole album. I think So I say up-tempo, headbangiest song on the record, and what a great way to finish side A. So if you get off your backside, go to the record player and flip the vinyl over if you've got the vinyl version, and the first track on there, but track 6 on the CD, is going to be the title track of the album as we go and meet the Witch of Berkeley. So, track 6, The Witch of Berkeley. This is another up-tempo heavy metal rocker, and a great way to open side B on the vinyl. Absolutely awesome track this, one of the better songs written by AIIZ at the time. Again, it's going down the whole occult route, let's say. Now, before we all get hot under the collar and, you know, accuse them of being Satanists and all that kind of palaver, same as with Black Sabbath and all the bands there, horror, it's just a theme. These are, like on the cover there, they're not sacrificing young children to some goat god or anything. It's just a theme to be written about. They're about as satanic as what Christopher Lee would be in any Hammer horror film. In fact, this is where this song is probably heavily influenced from all the old Hammer horror films and Dennis Wheatley novels. All the occult cliches are here. So, don't read into it that because they've got a picture of a witch on the front with a small naked child and all that, it's nah. Don't get hot under the collar about it. There's nothing satanic about it at all. It's a great track, great guitar work on it again. Absolutely love this song. One of my favourite A to Z songs, or A to Z if you're in the US, but no, they are A to Z. We're a British band, so there you go. Following on from that, we have got Last Stand. I nearly forgot it then. Yeah, the next track there, track 7, is Last Stand, and here again, trying to have something a bit different, slower tempo, going into a more upper tempo, and you take your hats off for doing it. It's a great song, and yeah, again, you can see why A to Z at the time was so highly thought of. They were trying to do something different, trying to be a cut above the rest, and I think they were. And this song shows it there. So that's tracks 6 and 7. So we're going on to track 8, and we have The Romp. So track 8, The Romp. This is one of those little new wave of British heavy metal curios where the song has one verse and it's repeated. AIIZ have done it here with The Romp. Iron Maiden did it as well on the Killers album. Can't remember which song it is, it's just gone out of my head for the minute, but they did it as well. So, and I know there's a few other bands around at the time just went down that route. So does this make this song any less appealing? Not really, no. However, I think The Romp on this album, it's one of those that you'll listen to initially and then on subsequent listenings you're going to be reaching for the skip button. This is a song that will work in a live setting when you're there in the moment and you've all had your belly full of beer and you want something to shout and jump about to. This is going to work perfectly. On an album, you're going to be finding it a little tedious listening to the lead vocalist trying to get the crowd to sing along. We've heard it on so many albums, even by bands such as Iron Maiden and Saxon and that bands of that ilk, and we've come to the sing-along chorus bit and we've got the whole, you know the routine, you sing along and it's never loud enough and they're going to split you down in two and we'll have that side up against that side. La-di-da-di-da. It's great in a live setting. When you've got to listen to it at home on the CD or an album or cassette or whatever you're listening to, it's a bit tiresome and it always has you reaching for the skip button. The song in itself is pleasant enough song, up-tempo ditty, nice rocking bit on it, and I'm sure they could have done a lot more with this song, but this is the sing-along one. This is usually where you'd find on an encore, so you've had all the set, now we're going to have a bit of fun with you. But like I say, on a live album when you're sat at home listening, it's sort of, I think your attention span's going to wane on this one. But there we go. So that takes you down to the last song, number 9, And the King is Dead. What an awesome song this is. Up-tempo, heavy metal rocker, great way to finish the album. No qualms about this one. Fantastic guitar work again, great lyrics, all-round band performance. It is great. So what a fantastic way to end the album. When you've got the vinyl, of course, with the CD, you do have the extra tracks to go on to as well. So, but just taking this as the vinyl release, that would have been the end of the vinyl, and The King is Dead, and that was the end of the Witch of Berkeley. So there you have it, AIIZ's debut live album, The Witch of Berkeley. And let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Let's just open the door and bundle him out. The recording is truly awful. It really is. If you think back even to the 70s, what great live albums came out then. You've got Deep Purple's Made in Japan. You got Thin Lizzy's Live and Dangerous, which is often cited as probably the best live album ever recorded. You've got Judas Priest Unleashing the East, great album. Just a myriad of great live albums that were very, very well recorded. In AIIZ's defence, this was one gig on one night, so they had to get everything spot on, and it was done on an 8-track. Now, you do demos for your bands on 8 tracks. You don't go out and record for live albums, and this is why the mix on this is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. the crowd didn't have their own microphones. The crowd were being picked up on the onstage microphones. So you'd have had the vocalist, guitarist, and the bassist, and the vocal, they'd all been on one track. You'd probably had half the tracks just for the drums, for the snare, bass drum, hi-hat and cymbals. So that's all your tracks used up, and this is why it sounds pretty naff really. It's no better really than a bootleg. And in AIIZ's defence as well, they hated it. As soon as they heard it, they didn't want it releasing, but it was out of their hands. But being signed to Polydor, which were a pretty big label, Polydor. I mean, they had Slade in their roster, Rainbow were on Polydor, so big bands. So why didn't somebody in Polydor go and say, we've listened to it, it's not great, let's get you in studio and we'll do it properly, we'll do your proper version. I think it's just because new wave of British heavy metal was really taking off, and labels were scrambling to get their own metal and rock bands on, and this was just the quickest and cheapest way of getting a heavy metal band on their roster. And AIIZ were being spoken about really highly on the underground, so they wanted to get in there first before anybody else did, and I think the whole thing really backfired. Song wise, playing wise, it's a great band, and you can see why AIIZ are so highly thought of. It's just that they were let down with a truly awful mix. The guitars are so trebly, you wondered if that 8-track recorder that they had any middle or bass on it. So I think really this was an exercise that failed, and it did the band more damage than it did good. I saw them supporting Black Sabbath on the Heaven and Hell tour, wasn't it? 1980-81, I think it was Heaven and Hell tour. So at Stafford Bingley, and they were awesome. They were truly awesome. And then you went back to listen to this album, you think it just doesn't sound like the same band at all. So like I say, song-wise, great songs, great songwriting, great performances, but truly awful recording, mixing and editing. So with that all in mind, I'm going to have to give the Witch of Berkeley live AIIZ 3 Evil Ednas. But just before you go, this isn't the end of the story, because in 1981 Polydor finally got their act together and got the lads into the recording studio, where they went on to record 3 tracks and released it on 12-inch for the No Fun After Midnight single.
Midnight.
Okay, I'm going to be totally honest with you. This is about take 6 for me trying to get this part right because I'm just so passionate about this record. No Fun After Midnight, 12-inch vinyl, fantastic. On the B-side, Treason, and my all-time favourite A to Z song, Valhalla Force. Now this record here, these 3 tracks had A to Z fans scratching their heads saying, why did we get this, which is basically no better than an official bootleg, an official live bootleg, and all along we wanted this. We wanted a debut album that sounded like this. This is the band that the fans knew and loved. I think if Polydor had done the right thing by the band and said, no, we've heard the mixes of this, it's rubbish, we're going to get you in, we're going to do a full-length debut album, even if it means waiting a year, this would have launched A to Z's career through the roof. And I dare say, if Metallica had covered Treason in the same way as they did with songs by Holocaust at Blitzkrieg, people would be talking about A to Z a lot more, and they wouldn't have become the also-rans and forgotten band of the new wave of British heavy metal. Reworkings of No Fun After Midnight, that a different version to what appeared on the live album, and I think it's a lot better for it, a lot better song, mid-tempo, almost radio friendly, still heavy metal, still rocks, and it's brilliant. Treason, like I said, that appeared on the Lars Ulrich endorsed New Wave of British Heavy Metal 25th anniversary double CD or album, whichever version you had. That is proto thrash. It is an awesome song, and I'm really surprised that Metallica didn't do a cover version of that on one of their earlier releases, you know, like the same way that they did Blitzkrieg by Blitzkrieg and, you know, Small Hours, Holocaust, and things like that. They probably did, and I've not heard of it, but at this time of recording, I've not heard of them doing a version releasing Treason. And I say, Valhalla Force, absolutely loved that song. The only reason I haven't covered that in any of my bands is I just can't get the lyrics anywhere. And it's I don't know, it's a bit difficult to understand a lot of the lyrics in this song. That's the only downside of that song for me. The vocal on it just isn't clear enough. It is a little bit muddy, but this is how A to Z should have been recorded, and I'll stand by it that if we'd have had a debut album recorded like this instead of being recorded like this, A to Z, we would have had at least a good 10-year run out of them easy. Or they could have done the Saxon route and just carried on, and we'd still have a version of A to Z releasing in stuff now. I love this CD, sorry, this 12-inch single that much that I am going to give this my full 5 Evil Ednas. A little later down the line, they had the usual lineup changes, which happens to all bands. They released one more single, I'm the One Who Loves You, written by Russ Ballard, which was a little pop metal thing. Wasn't awful. They did a very good job of it. The B-side, Ringside Seat, I thought was a hell of a lot better. But I think, unfortunately for the band, they'd missed the boat. Their chance had been and gone. I think Polydor well and truly dropped the ball from the off. Instead of letting them lads go in the studio and record a proper album, they tried to do the quick and cheap route, and I think that backfired and they couldn't really recover. So at the end of the day, The band came to nothing, really just another forgotten also-rans. A couple of members went on to join the awesome new wave of British heavy metal supergroup Titan, which I will be doing a review of their album in a future video. But for AIIZ, like I said, they'd missed the boat. Hopefully that one day they may get to do the reunion route with it, and if Hard Rock Hell decide to do New Wave of British Heavy Metal 3, they could be one of the bands on there, so I'd really like to see them again. So there we go, and unfortunately that's how it goes with a lot of bands, no matter how well you are thought of. And that's the end of yet another episode. I hope you all enjoyed that one. If you did, and you haven't done so already, could you please remember to subscribe to my channel. At the moment, I'm aiming to get 1,000 subscribers, and as soon as I hit that 1,000th subscriber mark, I will donate at least £20 to Macmillan Nurses here in the UK. For those of you living outside of the UK and you don't know who the Macmillan Nurses are, they are there to help everyone with cancer live life as fully as they can, providing physical, financial and emotional support. I myself have had their services firsthand, and I can tell you they are exceptional. A lot of the time they do have to rely on public donations, so if you'd like to find out more about Macmillan Nurses, or in fact give a little donation yourself, then please visit www.macmillan.org.uk. Okay, I'd like to thank you all again for watching. It's very much appreciated. Don't forget, you can still follow me on Facebook and on Twitter if that's going to be easy for you. And here's to seeing you all again on the next episode of the Adrian Bout Project.